This ain't pretty. This is Southern hospitality. The Black Crow.
Hey, KJ.
Who say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, still shining with hope through the dark of the night, through the storms and the fire, through the fear and the flame, still it rises in glory, still it carries our name. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave on the land of the free and the home of the brave, on the land of the free and the home
4 minutes, guys. I'm listening.
of the brave. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Still it waves, still it shines through the night and the day, on the land of the free and the home of the brave, the home of the brave, the home of the
USA, USA. And now, our friends from Australia.
in the sky, Australia, where the southern stars shine bright.
Kangaroo, kangaroo.
Across the mountains and the oceans, through the valleys wild and free, every heart
There they are,
beats with
JJ.
the spirit of hope and unity. Australia,
What's your flag in there,
strong and
JJ? You got a
free
symbol? What's that?
forevermore. From the deserts to the coastline, from the forests to the shore, from the deserts to the coastline, your spirit shines forevermore. Australia, Australia, we stand together, proud and free. Land of beauty, land of wonder, land of dreams beside the sea. Australia, Australia, your voice lives in every heart. Australia, 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 forever we will
Almost over.
Australia, 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 Australia. Australia, Australia.
Okay, our Australia friends from far, far away. Faye, too. Never forget Faye. And now our friends from Canada.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us
We're
common.
doing the three national anthems. I did two of them already, alright. This is the last one.
True north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And Faye. That was a short one. I did something different. I did talk to JJ on the phone with WhatsApp app. Told her I was going to do all three. The ones that listen. I know I got other countries, but the main one follows is Canada and Australia. So that was something different I did. So Probably do that once in a while. So we thought yesterday was good, you guys. Wait till we see today. We got a lot of good stuff today. Yeah, probably to go. I got a note on my dashboard, and I was telling JJ about it. I never got one. It said this video is getting a lot of views from yesterday's show. So that I never got, and it said like earnings. So I don't know, but I guess it's getting out there from yesterday. Because Mel had a good video yesterday, so credit to Mel and her channel. We always like to hear her every single time she gets on. Well, you guys, we the weather dropped. It's like 60. See, what is it now? It is actually 80 degrees, and I think the humidity's down a little bit, so it feels good. So we will play last night's Billy, the 37, but that's down the road. And then she just came out with a 27-minute one, so we got two big Billies to play. Then I got so much other stuff. I'm just gonna play one video at a time, and this try to get the short. I'm gonna do the short ones first. I think basically there might be one other one I might want to get in. I hope I might have to save it for tomorrow. It's a really good one too. I might do one Billy. I might do one Billy and then play that one. Who want? Because I don't think a lot of people saw Billy's video last night. It was 38 minutes. All right. I'm going to start off with no cat lady yet. Okay, I'm going to start off with the birds for KK with her birds she got. So this is only a minute.
Birds can literally reset your nervous system.
Ariella.
Scientists discovered that listening to
Yeah, I
these
got one
specific
more. Where is it?
The rainbow lorikeet. It stands out for its plumage that covers practically the entire visible color spectrum, with blazing red on the chest, deep blue on the head, green on the wings, and yellow on the flanks. Its combination of such vivid, contrasting tones makes it one of the most dazzling parrots on the planet. Number 2. The orange-headed kayik. It is identified by its intense bright orange head, contrasting with its immaculate white chest and green wings, distributing 3 solid colors in perfectly defined blocks. Its bold personality and clean, contrasted design make it one of the most striking and charismatic parrots of the Amazon. Number 3. The
That's
rosy-faced
it.
lovebird. It dazzles with its salmon pink face and chest that gradually blends into the bright green of the rest of its body. Its tiny size and warm, soft coloring give it a delicate appearance that contrasts with its passionate and intensely social character. Number 4. The eclectus parrot. It is recognized as the parrot with the greatest sexual dimorphism in the world, where the male is emerald green with an orange beak and the female is completely red and blue. This radical difference between sexes led scientists to believe for years that they were 2 completely different species. Number 5. The blue-headed parrot. It impresses with its deep cobalt blue head, contrasting with its green body and the reddish scales on its throat, creating a design as elegant as it is sophisticated. Its serene demeanor and discreetly striking colors make it one of the most refined parrots in South America. The 5 most
Okay, that's for people that have birds. Kay has one. Hopefully she saw it. The first one's going to be 5 minutes. I don't think we played this one while ago, did we?
Is not a crisis. It's actually a profound protective holding pattern designed specifically to keep us safe. We are in what I like to call the final holding pattern. It's a deliberate, beautiful stillness. This strict physical and informational containment phase we are in right now is an engineered sanctuary, and it's there to absorb the shock of what's coming next. You see, there are so many people around us, the unawakened masses, people we love so much, who are still existing entirely within the 3D illusion. We call them sleepers. And I say that with deep, deep compassion because their perception of reality is just so fragile right now. This containment is absolutely necessary to gently manage and secure them because they just aren't ready yet for the shift that's happening. But we aren't alone in this. There are benevolent forces working quietly behind the scenes for us. These are the White Hats, an incredibly coordinated allied military and multi-dimensional command force. They're the ones actually
Yeah, I just
executing
played
this
2
lockdown,
clips of birds. I
meticulously
hope you got to
positioning their
see 'em.
assets so they can finally dismantle the old parasitic infrastructure that has controlled things for so long. And all of this careful preparation, it's pointing toward one monumental moment, the ABS, the Emergency Broadcast System. Once everything is safely secured, that system is going to take over all media and internet networks. That is the exact moment the false reality finally shatters
Yeah.
and the absolute, undeniable truth is delivered to everyone. I know it can be scary. When you look at the
I
world
talked
stage,
to
it
JJ on
feels
the phone
terrifying.
today.
But we have to learn to see through this global theater and navigate the illusion together. When you see news about escalating World War III mobilizations, I need you to take a deep breath. That is a simulated illusion. It's a brilliantly designed cover story. The lived reality is that this is highly orchestrated white hat strategic asset positioning. It allows them to move in a place securely without alerting the old guard to what's really going on. So when you see a visible military presence in the streets, please
Pretty
don't
good,
be
you think,
afraid.
while
They are
ago?
deployed specifically to maintain order, not to enforce that old parasitic control. They are there as a stabilizing force, actively removing the old world's enforcers. They are entirely meant to protect you. To really break free, the cords of that old 3D matrix literally have to be cut. We are watching the severing of the old world happen in real time. So if the internet goes dark or communication networks suddenly drop out, do not panic. These staged internet restrictions, blackouts, and intentionally severed communication cables, these are deliberate acts of care. They are specifically designed to throttle the old toxic narratives and isolate the population from any remaining negative parasitic influence. Have you wondered why traditional media networks are behaving so frantically right now, exposing themselves in such obvious ways? It's because they've been cornered. These corrupted structures are being forced to show their true colors to the public before they go completely dark and are removed from the
Hey,
airwaves
Henry.
forever. It brings us to this incredible moment we're in right now, the Great Pause, a state of total environmental containment, bringing the whole world to a peaceful, necessary halt. It makes so much sense when you look at how we got here. We went through phase 4, where they were just maintaining those docile illusions. Then came phase 5, the trigger events, which intentionally fractured reality by turning up the psychological tension. And all of that led perfectly into where we are today, phase 6, the lockdown window.
Minute and a
This
half.
physical containment is the only way to safely
I
absorb
can't
the shock
remember
of
on
the
this
awakening.
one. I don't
Just let
think I
this
played
truth
it.
sink in for a second. This is about freezing the population in place, protecting civilians while keeping chaos low. Restricting movement right now isn't about taking away your freedom. It's the ultimate act of preventing societal collapse while the heaviest lifting is being done. And the most beautiful part is what's waiting for us just on the other side of all this. This pause is just the bridge preparing us for the truth, for absolute disclosure. Right now, in phase 6, we have strict physical terrain containment and the neutralization of organic communications, all while the unawakened masses are forcibly paused. But this is about to transition into the impending reality of phase 7. That's when undeniable disclosures will be broadcasted globally. We'll see the full exposure of election fraud and trafficking rings. All of this quiet right now guarantees the safe reception of the truth regarding those neutralized elites. It's a truly grand design. By isolating the population, the architects of this great purge are fundamentally securing the realm. They are making absolutely sure that humanity is completely out of harm's way, safely positioned so we can begin our true planetary ascension and start rebuilding our world together. We are standing at the quiet dawn of absolute truth. I know it's a lot to take in, but you are completely safe. By just being here, listening, and opening your heart, you are connecting the dots and activating the 21st memory. You are awakening to a profoundly beautiful new reality, and I am right here with you every step of the way.
All right. I remember playing her before. So I got 3 photos I want to share before the next video. One is from, I don't know, Flying Eagle, if you saw it, a photo from Jacksonville. Said Jackson, Florida. Gloria, another big show coming up. That was out of Jacksonville. And remember a long time ago about, I don't know who was saying it, but about the CEOs about dropping out. These are the ones that are dropping out 2026. Remember, what's your name was saying about that? Wonder why they're dropping out. $155, it says. This says there's a bill sitting on New York government desk that would make New York one and only state that requires kids to get, you know what, to go to summer camp. Oh my God, New York is terrible, you guys. Terrible. You gotta get, you know what, to go to summer camp. All right, those are the photos for now. We got the X guy. This will be 6 minutes.
It is much bigger than you think. Hear me out. Americans Credit Union, the National Trade Association representing credit unions across the country, just released a brand new guide on payments, stablecoin, and the Genius Act.
What
I
do you
want you
got
to
this
read
one,
this title
Fargo?
carefully.
Good, right?
This is the roadmap explaining how credit unions should prepare for the new payment infrastructure. Then it gets even more interesting. They're telling credit unions that this matters because payment stablecoin could affect deposit, liquidity, funding, cost, and lending. Read that again. Deposits, funding, lending. This isn't just about digital assets. It touches the core foundation for the financial institutions that they operate on.
Metallicus was already prepped and ready. We've already built the technology to test out stablecoins, to deploy stablecoins. We've launched our own stablecoins throughout the market to be able to leverage for our users. So we've basically said, hey, how do we kind of transition this space to now allow credit unions the opportunity? And that's what's exciting because we have Metal Pay. And that's the product that's been around. Metallicus is currently in the process of integrating to allow credit unions to have that digital banking experience built directly into their consumer app. So we're connecting to the big digital banking providers to be able to allow their members to buy and sell digital assets.
Yo, did you catch that? They didn't just start building this thing yesterday. This is the infrastructure that was already under construction. Then we get to what might be the most overlooked section in the whole entire document. Today. So this paper right here discusses estimates that roughly $6.6 trillion in transactional deposits could be exposed to at least partial migration towards payment stablecoins, while also noting that the eventual impact is uncertain and depends upon adoption. Whether the final number is smaller or larger, the point is the same. Financial institutions are thinking seriously about these new payment rails that could mean for their deposits.
What I like to challenge and what I challenge the credit unions, it's not just about the outflow, it's about the inflow. The inflow is just as important as the outflow.
That one sentence right there explains why everyone is paying attention. Notice what they're actually talking about. Cross-border payments, business payments, settlements, custody, members-to-member transfers. These are real-world financial services, not like speculating trading.
Your member may have no idea they're actually even using a stablecoin. Think about when you go to Starbucks today and you reload your Starbucks app, right? You're using your checking or savings account. You're moving money that's now sitting inside the Starbucks application. It's now stuck, right? That use case is actually very similar to how the stablecoin works. The only difference is that with a stablecoin, you can actually take those funds and move it anywhere else. And when you think about the other wallets and where the future is, Walmart's looking at stablecoins, Amazon is looking at stablecoins. You want to make sure that when you're deploying a stablecoin, if you are moving that money, you can move it back and forth.
And that is the part that nobody understands. The technology doesn't have to feel different for the users. Sometimes the biggest change happens behind the scenes.
When you're looking at Metal blockchain, which is where a lot of the credit unions are leaning in terms of that deployment, the cost of that if you deploy your own subnet is $0 per transaction. So when you think about that from if I'm a credit union and I'm looking to deploy a solution, I'm looking to deploy a new payment rail, I like the idea that it's not costing me anything, that I can add my own fees. Not to mention that it's a lot faster. It's profitable. I can exchange to any other institution that's accepting it.
Now, I want you to think about that. If you're building payment rails, cost matters, speed matters, interoperability matters. This page right here is one of the most important pages out of the whole entire document. Just look who is involved. The NCUA, the U.S. Treasury, FDIC, the OCC, FinCEN, multiple agencies are actively working together for the rulemaking of this whole entire process around payment stablecoins.
From my standpoint, I do think there will be 4,000 stablecoins. I think that those 4,000 stablecoins may not be publicly shown, but I think it's not stablecoin. It's not the coin. It's the rail. I think there will be 4,000 payment rails.
Now, let me leave you with something interesting. For a while now, the U.S. debt clock has been using visuals to emphasize blockchain and the U.S. Treasury and state credit unions. Whether you agree with every message on the debt clock or not, compare that image with what you've just seen. An industry association publishes a stablecoin guide, infrastructure companies explaining how the technology works, regulators writing the rules. All of those pieces of puzzle suggest that the digital payment infrastructure is becoming a serious topic, and nothing is coincidental. Remember, the biggest shift in finance rarely happens overnight. They happen quietly. One plot, one regulation, one integration, one institution at a time. Most people only notice after the system has changed. And this is why it is so important to know what you hold. Let's go.
Okay, that one guy that we play all on that clock. Oh. I'm going to play the cat lady. I got one. This was last night. I haven't got no new ones yet.
Raggedy ass shit in Florida named
Replay that
Chance
one.
Jones. He had a 10-week-old puppy that he went and got and then stuck it in his garage, turned off the lights, didn't give it food, didn't give it water, and just left it. And admitted to the authorities that he traveled a lot, was out of town a lot. So whenever he would come back, he would give it some food, water, then turn the lights back off and leave it. It's basically starved to death, and he wouldn't take it to the vet. He didn't do anything with it, but hid it in a garage. So I don't know how they found out about it. I have no idea. It's not saying, but they grabbed it, they got it, and the baby finally passed away after living in total darkness for, guys, where are our people? Where's our Batman? Where's our Joker? Where's the people that take care of situations like this? You know what his bond is? $3,000 bond is what he's on.
Oh my God. That's terrible. 3,000. Hopefully we'll get some other ones here soon. Okay, that's it with that one. Next one is, I believe, 6 minutes. There's another new one, I believe.
Just handed them a mirror, and they couldn't survive the reflection. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. Someone built an entire mental maze just to trap you in it. Every corner, every illusion, every little emotional tripwire was designed to make you question yourself. But here's the twist. While they were busy designing that labyrinth, you quietly evolved into something they couldn't predict. A strategist who plays no games, yet wins them all. Their own maze turned on them like a house of mirrors. Every path they ran down only led to one face staring back. Theirs. Psychologists say that when a person loses control of their narrative, they begin to rewrite reality to protect their ego. That's exactly what happened. They didn't lose to you because you were manipulative. They lost because you stopped reacting. You stayed calm when they needed chaos. You went silent when they needed validation. And that silence echoed louder than any argument they could ever win. Eventually, they realized the truth. You were never in their game. They were in yours. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message forward by pressing like and subscribe to help spread this light to more souls. It's our shared mission to expose darkness with awareness, to remind the world that calm minds win wars. You are part of that force, chosen one, the quiet storm that ends every fake empire pretending to stand on truth. Now, let's get into it. Because this isn't just about winning, it's about understanding why your peace is lethal to people who live off manipulation. You didn't hypnotize anyone, you broke a system. You outgrew the simulation they tried to trap you in. They tried to use fear as currency, but your detachment inflated its value to zero. You refused to play victim or villain, and that neutrality drove them insane. You became the variable they couldn't predict. And that's the most terrifying kind of power there is, psychological sovereignty. See, when they said you were too calm, what they meant was, I can't control you anymore. When they accused you of being cold, it was because your emotions stopped being their playground. That's what psychological warfare really looks like. Not yelling matches or revenge plots, but precision silence. You let truth speak for itself, and truth is merciless when exposed to liars. Every manipulator counts on one thing, your emotional response. It's their oxygen. Take that away and they suffocate on their own games. That's why they start spiraling, imagining conversations that never happened, replaying moments where you didn't break, didn't beg, didn't explain. Your composure became their worst nightmare because they finally met someone whose peace doesn't need an audience. That's when they realize they're not fighting you. They're fighting the echo of their own tactics bouncing back. You see, power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just watches quietly while chaos burns itself out. And you, chosen one, mastered that art without even meaning to. You became the living glitch in every manipulator's matrix. The one who sees through the game, studies the pattern, and walks away before it explodes. That's psychological warfare at its highest level. When your detachment dismantles their illusion without a single move, you didn't destroy them, you exposed them. You revealed how fragile their confidence was once no one believed the story they were selling. And the most poetic part, you didn't even need to retaliate. Life did that for you. The guilt, the insomnia, the emotional breakdowns, that's their battlefield now. Their own thoughts turned hostile. You just moved on, but your absence kept echoing like a siren in their head, reminding them of what real power feels like. Unbothered, unmatched, untouchable. You were never playing psychological games. You were showing what emotional discipline looks like. But to a manipulator, discipline is warfare because they depend on your chaos to validate their existence. And when you stopped feeding them that, they called you a monster, a villain, a psychological warfare master. Fine, let them. History's always written by the ones who survived the maze, not the ones still running in circles inside it. So wear that title with pride, chosen one. You didn't win by force, you won by understanding the mechanics of the mind, theirs and yours. You broke the loop, and they'll never admit how much that terrified them. Because deep down they know it now. You're not playing chess anymore. You are the board. And hey, chosen one, don't blink now. That was just the warm-up. The real game is just loading up behind the curtain. You think that admission was satisfying? Wait until we break down the exact moves that made it happen. Step by calculated step. This isn't just a story about someone folding under pressure. It's a blueprint of how you flipped the entire battlefield without even raising your voice. So if you're ready to go deeper into how your silence became a siren, how your stillness became their panic, then drop a 999 in the comments to mark this moment. It's the code between us, the signal that you see it, you own it, and you're done playing small. And if you feel this energy hitting home, bless this mission with a super thanks. Every bit fuels the light we're pushing through this fog. You're not just watching, you're part of this. You are the reason this force exists.
Okay, I wasn't sure how good that was going to be. All right, the next one is 5 minutes, I believe, from our new lady from TikTok.
In Washington, D.C. It is day 27 of the medical miracle. That is Senator Mitch McConnell. So he, according to a source, is allegedly in rehabilitation here at the hospital right now. Again, the odds of a 30-day survival out of an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest event are less than 5% in an individual who is in their 80s. So again, the sources that have come out and the statements that have been made about these phone conversations do not really align with the statistics of this type of cardiac arrest event. Now,
I had to start early. I did the 3 national anthem this time. I talked to JJ on the phone. I did Australia, Canada, our Canada friends, and those were the 2 main ones that I got other countries, but I can't remember what other ones follow. And I had some good ones there at the beginning, and everything's good. The temperature dropped down, not too bad. And hi, Mom. Yeah, I can't remember, Sword, how long you've been with. We'd like to know what state you're from. I'm Michigan. We got a lot of big lineup here tonight, you guys. I got to flip a coin on you guys, because we didn't play the 37-minute one from Billy yesterday, but then she has a 27-minute one, and then there's a real important one I think I should play. I think everybody's going to like it. It's 39 minutes. That's the highest I want to go, but it's an important one.
This video did come out. What looks like Senator Mitch McConnell is being put into a paramedic vehicle. Now, what I will say in talking to EMS, it sounds like based on the audio, he originally was found unconscious. So the paramedics arrived to the home. It's possible that they immediately started administering CPR for a apparent cardiac arrest based on the audio inside the home, stabilized him, and possibly then transported him into the vehicle. I had someone who zoomed in on the video, and it looks like he may potentially be wearing this white belt. It is known as a life band. It's an automated CPR device. Again, the videos, it's hard to determine if he is actually wearing something like this. So either way, I think it's important that the American public know the history of his health, so that we could better assess whether this individual is capable of at some point returning to the Senate and fulfilling his duty to the United States of America and to his constituents back in Kentucky. So here's the other aspect, the other item I have been having a very difficult time getting a hold of. So as you know, I was the one who found the EMS audio from the dispatch back on June 14th, but I have been digging to try to find the dispatch EMS audio from February 2nd. I think if we could get that audio, we might have a better picture of his overall health and better be able to determine why he was hospitalized on February 2nd. And according to the hospital, he was in the ICU then too, from February 2nd to February 10th. So I have already tried Broadcastify. Do not use them. They are awful. So despite their false false advertising saying that their recordings and archives go back a year. They don't actually go back a year for the DC Metro EMS. So you're not going to be able to find anything there. Do not use Broadcastify. Open Megahertz doesn't go back that far either, which is why I'm having an issue finding the February EMS audio. If anyone out there has a recording, knows where to get this recording, we need to go back to February 2nd and look at the reason why EMS was dispatched to his house on February 2nd. So if anyone has the ability to find these archives, please DM me. I can help you locate his address or listen to the recordings myself until we hear his address and are better able to determine what his hospitalization was actually regarding, at least based on the EMS audio on February 2nd. So that's the update I have for now, day 27 of Senator Mitch McConnell's.
Yeah, that's crazy, crazy, crazy. With our lady out of Washington there, our new lady reporter. So I'm going to play a couple more short ones. And I'm going to play the 27-minute Billy Bean and try to get it in between all the other stuff that we're going to keep going. And hopefully I'll get you that big one. Okay, here's another new one, you guys. I'm not sure of.
Been quietly shaping American power for decades, and most people don't even know their names. Meet the Donilon brothers, Tom, Mike, and Terry. Tom Donilon, former national security advisor, now sits at the top of BlackRock, where he controls over $13 trillion in assets.
I think it's a new
as
one.
Vice chairman of BlackRock and chairman of the BlackRock Investment Institute. He's a pretty big deal and a global power player for decades. Mike Donilon, Joe Biden's closest advisor and strategist for over 43 years. Many insiders say he was the one actually running the show behind the scenes for the years that Biden was in Washington, and for some reason still has never been questioned about the auto pen scandal. Terry Donilon, deeply connected inside the Vatican, the world's oldest, enduring, and powerful institution. Terry has served as a long-time spokesman for the Archdiocese of Boston and Cardinal Sean O'Malley's mouthpiece for years. Three brothers, three major centers of influence: Wall Street, the White House, and the Vatican. No posturing, no performance. They don't seek the spotlight. They prefer to operate in the shadows, pulling strings across finance, politics, and global institutions for decades. This is how real power works in America today. Not through elections that most people see, but through quiet, interconnected networks most people never hear about. They set the stage that everyone else is forced to conform to and is fighting to perform on. Just a little common sense in the middle of the chaos. While most people...
Okay, I got two more short ones. We'll get to Billy Bean, new one. Get that one out. About four. It's a short one. Another new lady, you guys.
That democratic socialism is communism, and democratic socialism is what they call it because it sounds better. And that's just not what democratic socialism is. So to properly examine and criticize the ideology, I feel like we should understand what it actually believes. So the difference between democratic socialism and communism. So first, communism and democratic socialism are not the same thing. Let's make that distinction now. The biggest difference isn't necessarily the end goal. Most leftists in the United States want socialism or communism in some way, shape, or form. It's how they believe that society gets there. Most communists believe that socialism is the transitional stage between capitalism and communism. So in other words, if you believe in communism, you also believe in socialism, because socialism is the stepping stone after capitalism falls towards building a communist society. But there are different ideas on the left about how socialism or communism should be achieved, and we don't all agree. Democratic socialists, which I'm not, they believe that society can transition to socialism by working within the existing.
Well, I just found a new Nick Shirley video, but we'll play that one tomorrow.
Political system. So they support using elections, legislation, labor organizing, democratic reforms to gradually transform society. Communists, on the other hand, argue that there needs to be a revolution because the capitalist state was not built to serve the working people. It was built to protect the interests of the people who own wealth and the capital. And because of that, they believe that the system cannot simply be voted into socialism or communism. So basically, reform has limits because the institutions themselves are designed to preserve capitalism. So therefore, revolution. Democratic socialists don't want a revolution. They support reforms that communists also support. But the communists don't believe that those reforms alone can fundamentally change who owns and controls the economy. Democratic socialists obviously disagree. They believe that democratic institutions are the first step moving beyond capitalism without overthrowing the existing political system. So while both democratic socialists and communists may support a lot of the same things, stronger unions, universal health care, public housing, expanding worker power, they disagree on one fundamental thing. Can capitalism be reformed into socialism, or does the capitalist state itself have to collapse? And that's the real divide. I'm a Marxist-Leninist, so I believe that the existing political and economic system was created to protect the interests of the wealthy. I don't believe that you can fundamentally change that system simply by voting. But democratic socialism has very meaningful reforms that I would still absolutely support. And many Marxist-Leninists like myself support these reforms because they improve people's lives. But I don't believe that these reforms alone will achieve socialism. And whether you support or oppose these ideologies, you should still understand what they actually believe. If you want to have an honest discussion, you need to be able to define your opponent's views correctly. A lot of Americans hear the C word, communism, and we immediately think authoritarianism. But every major self-described socialist state has developed under extraordinary pressure, mainly from the United States. Wars, invasions, sanctions, sabotage, attempted coups and overthrows. I don't believe those governments become authoritarian because of ideology itself. Other countries that we've done that to that weren't socialist or communist, also most of them become authoritarian or out of control because the historical conditions play a major role in how those states develop. Regardless of where you stand on that debate, though, this isn't me trying to persuade you to be a democratic socialist or a communist. You need to know that they're not the same thing. Every economic system concentrates power somewhere. The question isn't whether the power exists, it's who has it. Under capitalism, an enormous amount of economic power is concentrated towards corporations, billionaires, banks, investors, and socialists argue that that power should instead be controlled democratically by the people who do the work. And if democratic socialism and communism were the same thing, there wouldn't be more than a century of leftists arguing over the difference, because that's like the running argument on the left, is like writing different manifestos, developing different theories. There's even splits into entirely different political movements. Whether you agree with democratic socialists or communists is up to you, but they're not the same ideology. And pretending that they are only makes political discussions less informed. And I feel like if we're going to start the communist propaganda machine up again, we need to know what they are. We need to know what communism is. We need to know what socialism is. We need to know what democratic socialism is, because they're all different.
Yep, she's a new lady on TikTok. All right, I got a 2-minute one, and then we'll get 27-minute Billy. I didn't know anything about this accident here.
In Minnesota for fraud schemes that targeted over $90 million in taxpayer dollars. Let me be clear up front about something. This is not the end of our work in Minnesota. This is.
Sorry about that one, you guys. That's an old one. I'm going to start feeling mean now.
Pork farmers fight to lower costs and stand firm to protect the Second Amendment. Vote Andrew Beeler for State Senate.
If you sit on the toilet, bear down, and barely anything comes out. You don't have constipation, you have poop paralysis.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean. Today's date, July 10, 2026. Time in Texas, about 11 a.m. And thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and especially for hitting the like button. That really helps my channel. Some of the things we'll cover, some breaking news from a few minutes ago coming out of the UK. And as the world turns, and 2026 jihad nukes in the UK and the US, and the Republican Party money, and how much do the Dems have, and I will distinguish between socialism and communism. So let's get started. We have some breaking news coming out of the UK that a politician in the UK, Anne Whitcomb, 78, less than about 48 hours ago, she came out to support Nigel Farage. He's the leader of like a reform party in the UK. And then early yesterday morning, she was found murdered in her rural home. A presser will be given this afternoon about 5 p.m. by the UK police. So we say rest in peace, Anne Whitcomb. Apparently, she's described as a very feisty woman who for decades has led or endorsed doing what's good for the UK people. So that's going on. And we have this. So we're seeing dramatic impacts upon the earth that is going to critically influence climate and weather events, as well as earthquakes and volcanoes. Now, historically, the Earth has been tilted at 23.5 degrees. About 3 years ago, it came out that the Earth had tilted at least to 31 degrees. But that was several years ago. I believe this tilt has been ongoing. I know Mike from around the world, I believe BP Earthwatch has been putting out various pieces regarding the tilt of the earth. Now, in the fall of 2020, what I received from God was magma inside the earth is rising in all directions. And as I've been covering lately, again, impacts from space and on our solar system. And let's be clear, we are in the Milky Way galaxy, in which there are hundreds, thousands of solar systems. And then we are part of a universe, and then there are perhaps millions of universes. So that means trillions of planets. It's highly likely that among that group, we would have many planets that do have life-like conditions such as we see on Earth. But right now, it's in the cycle that we're in, and make no mistake about it, we are in the process of a pole shift occurring on Earth. So we have this. We know also we're hearing about a super El Nino in the Pacific Ocean. And new information indicates that we have the Earth, the equator. We have the U.S., South America, and we have El Nino. And it's believed that we may also be seeing La Nina below the equator. So El Nino means the temperature in the Pacific Ocean is up. La Nina means it is down. And this turbulence in the Pacific Ocean between warm and cold temperatures will also impact South America all the way up to North America. And we can look for, out of this scenario, more earthquakes in Venezuela, Peru, that would then impact the Cusco Plate, which is adjacent to the U.S. West Coast. That would then juice up the San Andreas Fault, going all the way into the central U.S., impacting the Madrid seismic zone. So we could be seeing dramatic events like this, the big one in California, the New Madrid seismic zone juiced up, more violent earthquakes in Venezuela and Peru within about this next 2026 to 2027. So we have that going on. We have also, we have the U.S. and the Atlantic Ocean. Now, it's believed these Pacific Ocean temperature variations are going to take down the chances for hurricanes, as well as the arrival of more Sahara dust. So that will be a plus for the U.S. But with all these earth changes going on, we do have in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, from Greenland down to South America, the Atlantic Ridge on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean opening up. So that's going on. This dual El Nino, La Nina event was also seen previously in our historical records, 1876 to 1878. Now, this El Nino, La Nina event that would give us, we believe, very strong earthquakes, impacts on the U.S., is predicted by Mac from around the world to last for 2 years, 2026 and 2027. So, as Hal Turner would say, it's a good time to get right with God. We have had off of the sun 4 flares this week. We do have magma rising, as I said. I got that information from God. We do have also impacts upon the earth tilting, and now it's being put forth. Also, the rotation of the earth is also changing. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, we have the temperature in the El Nino area of the Pacific Ocean has risen 2.6 degrees. Not seen before in our historical records. And as I've put out before, our models predicting climate and weather are based on history. So if we're dealing with a variation we have not seen before, it's good to ask God what's going on, because it's likely that the weather and climate models many experts will be using will not reflect what's happening in the real world today. So that's going on. And we have this. We have also that, in Venezuela, the death toll now is up to about 4,000, with tens of thousands injured and tens of thousands still missing. It's a very sad event for Venezuela. And coupled with a Venezuela government that doesn't appear equipped to lead nor provide aid. It's good that many nations, including the U.S. and U.S. military, are on the ground there. Now, Mike from Around the World puts out an interesting prediction for August 12. Now, August 12 is also the date when the 60 days period associated with the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran, is up. Mike brings out also that there will be a major sun eclipse over Italy, and that after that eclipse passes Italy, this will bring about some type of underwater, possibly volcano eruption near Italy. And recall, Italy was up to their eyeballs in the U.S. presidential coup of 2020. From Italy, the Leonardo satellite was being used primarily out of the Vatican to flip votes in the 2020 presidential election. This is well known to President Trump and the group of U.S. military and other experts who are looking into that coup. So at any rate, it appears that August 12 could be some type of kickoff date for cataclysmic events to be scheduled. Mike also brought this out that it's predicted in 2026 that in the UK, 20 million people will suddenly die. This will be from an Islamic Jihad nuke in the form of a nuclear power plant being brought to melt down and releasing large amounts of radiation over the UK, and that then the Islamic Jihad group would attack America. We also have this coming out that in January of 2027, Iran states that it will put together a 2.5 million troop group made up of individuals from Iran as well as other jihad groups in the Middle East, and that infiltration of the U.S. has been going on for decades of the Islamic jihadists, as we've also seen in the UK. Now, I've put forth in the UK that we see the UK going full stop communist, and we also see the UK overriding the rights of UK citizens in favor of the Islamic jihadists. Could it be that the politicians in the UK have been bought off? And what about this sudden death of Anne Whitcomb in the UK? Just saying. And there is a suspect, according to the police, in the murder of Ann Whittencombe, described as being a white male. So that's going on.
We had a good show
And
yesterday.
we have this. Also, the Islamic Jihad could easily bring about a nuclear meltdown at a nuclear power plant in view of the fact that the AI data centers are now being powered by mobile.
Out here, pets are family, and Tractor Supply's your one stop for low prices on their treats, toys, and food.
Nuclear power units, mobile, so they can be moved around. That would be, I'm speculating, a good scenario for Islamic jihadists to bring about some type of nuclear event in the U.S. Do I believe that's possible? Absolutely. As I've shared several times before in the 90s, when I was taking a philosophy course at Houston, Texas, I went to a mosque and I heard with my own lying ears that the plan of the Islamic individuals in the U.S. was to have their children grow up in America, be born in America, grow up and take over the U.S. government. Don't we see that same scenario taking place now under the Muslim mayor of New York City, absolutely pushing socialism? And we have this. So yesterday morning, we were hearing that the U.S. was going to hit Iran again. And then U.S. intel came out and said, no, the U.S. denies that they are making strikes on Iran. It turns out now, late yesterday, it was speculated maybe these strikes that took place yesterday on Iran were being done by Bahrain and Kuwait. But U.S. intel today, Iran is taking the position that their hits yesterday were by Israel. So we'll have to get more information on that. And we have from Tusi TV. Now, yesterday, Tusi TV put out that associated with the funeral of Ayatollah number 1 near the border with Iraq and Iran, that 3 IRGC commanders had been taken out. Enforcer came out with more information last night. The video had come out that regarding moving the coffin of Ayatollah number 1 from Iraq back to Iran, there was some type of shootout along the border Iraq-Iran between the IRGC and Iran police. Now, Tusi TV had said that these takedowns of the IRGC commanders was done at the hands of an Iranian people group, resistance group called the Immortal Guard. It could be, now that we have this new information from Enforcer, that the Iranian People's Resistance Group had dressed up like Iranian police and had then had a shootout at the IRGC Basij checkpoint as the coffin was being transported back to Iran. So that's going on. But for sure, yesterday, 4 IRGC were shot dead. So we have that going on. We also had yesterday strikes on Iran near southeast Chabahar and other locations. It's a mad, mad world, isn't it? So we have this. It's believed the Iranian citizens took out the IRGC Basij in some type of shootout. Now it's coming out, possibly they were disguised as Iranian police. And we have this. We have also the city of Shiraz in Iran, that a general, an IRGC general, was taken out. Brigadier General Nesp, N-E-S-P. I believe that came from Tusi TV. We have the Iran state media yesterday putting out that Iran is sponsoring a $100 million bounty on President Trump, Bibi Netanyahu, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and U.S. military head of the Joint Chiefs, General Kane. And we have this from Russia. Foreign Minister Lavrov speaking at Mozambique in Africa. And I found it curious to find out that in Africa, Mozambique, 62% of their population are Christian. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov did a press conference there yesterday and puts forth that Russia does not believe the West, that would be the US and NATO, Europe, have an interest in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. And we have this from Newswithzman. So we see Russia now in Ukraine blocking Starlink. I believe Russia has some type of electronic warfare that can block Starlink and then switch an area to Russia's system. And it blocks Starlink, and it's called Volna Kopal Garnet, the Russian system. We have this from U.S. Intel, July 9, yesterday. It was believed the U.S. was striking Iran, but then U.S. Intel, late in the afternoon yesterday, said no. The U.S. military says they are not hitting Iran. That happened yesterday. And we have this from Stephen Gardner. Yes, I have other sources also. Currently, the Republican Party has on hand in cash $900 million, while the Dems have $200 million. It appears that major Democrat donors are not giving money to the Dem Party because what they're hearing out of the Dem Party are very bizarre positions. One being to defund police everywhere. So that's going on. And we have this. We have
nice hat. Where'd you get it?
Depop.
Yeah. So I'll define communism and socialism for you. Communism, a political belief that all property should be owned by the government and that people should receive paychecks that reflect their needs. In other words, you could be an individual, not married, no children, doing the same job as someone else who is married and has children, and that married individual would receive more money than you do while you both are doing the same job. and that all property and money should be controlled by the government. Communism. Socialism is a political and economic philosophy that property should be governed by the government. So we see there's not much difference between communism and socialism. In both cases, the government controls property and people's paychecks. So that's going on. We have this from Crux. Yesterday, July 9. Ukraine drones did hit additional Russian oil facilities in several locations in Russia. And we know that this month-long hits by Ukraine inside Russia on their oil facilities has caused Russia now to ration fuel. So that's going on. And to stop deporting diesel. And we have this. Russia has come up with a new technique to hit Ukraine power plants. And the Ukraine power plants, their transformers, are protected by like a concrete cover and also nets. So what the Russians are doing now is they send in one drone hit to go through the net and then follow it up with a double tap that then penetrates the concrete cover and takes out the Ukraine power plant. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have also that since May, Russian technology has been developed that would take down Ukraine's protection of their power plants. And July 6th, near Kiev, also Russia hit an unmarked ammo depot that Ukraine believes must have been sabotage because the warehouse, the ammo depot, was unmarked. So that's going on. And now a short prayer. We pray, Father, in the name of Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, that you remove from President Trump and America slander spoken by lying lips as we, your people in America, steadfastly seek your face and to follow your precepts. And we say thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady, continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, we got Billy Bean in today, 27 minutes. The one she had today. Won't be able to get to the other one yesterday, and I want to play the other one later. All right, I got another new one. Is 7 minutes. Unless we played it, you guys can let me know if we played it or not. I believe it's a new one. I can't remember.
A hobby shop drone could fly right over the fence before anything down here flagged it as a threat. A faint buzz drifts over the rooftops of the White House. A direction lights up on a screen. A camera whips around to a patch of empty sky. And there it is. A dot nobody's eyes had found yet. The thing that caught it has no radar dish on it at all. And it just did something this airspace couldn't do for years. It heard the drone coming. That system is just one piece of what's going up around the White House right now. To see why, rewind to just after 3 a.m. on January 26, 2015. An off-duty government intelligence employee is flying a small quadcopter for fun a few blocks away and loses control of it. The drone drifts toward the White House, slips over the fence, and comes down on the ground. The radar ringing the building never flags it. It's too small and too low to register. The only reason it was even noticed was that a Secret Service officer just happened to catch it skimming through the dark. A hobby shop drone had just crossed the most defended airspace on Earth, and the system built to guard it never saw it as a threat. For 200 years, the rule was to stop a threat at the wall. Get the fence right, get the doors right, and you've done your job. That worked when the threats were a person or a weapon or a vehicle at the gate. It doesn't work anymore. A $600 drone can do what used to take a whole aircraft.
This one okay?
A swarm can come down from 10 directions at once. A threat can now arrive from straight up, faster and cheaper and smaller than anything the old wall was built to stop. Start with the drone, because the drone is the threat that broke the old playbook. The radar ringing the White House was built to catch big things, planes, helicopters, anything from the size of a Cessna all the way up. A consumer quadcopter throws back a signature the size of a sparrow, and the White House itself sits on a flyway that's thick with real birds. Turn the radar up to catch the small stuff, and every gull over the Potomac trips the alarm. Turn it down to ignore the birds, and the drone sails through. Either way, the radar loses. So this new system stopped looking and started listening. The 16 microphones sit in a tight array, each one a fixed distance from the next. When a sound rolls across them, it reaches the near edge a hair before the far edge. And a hair here means billionths of a second. The box clocks that lag at every microphone and runs the geometry backward. A sound that arrives even across all 16 is directly overhead. A sound that hits one edge first and is off at an angle, the box pins that angle down to a degree or two. It's the same calculation your own head does without telling you. A noise hits one ear a fraction before the other, and you turn straight toward it. The microphone array just does it with 16 ears that never get distracted. Then a piece of software, trained on the sound itself, makes one call. Drone or not a drone? It learned on hours of real rotor audio, so it knows the difference cold. So a lawnmower 2 blocks over won't fool it. Neither will a passing helicopter. Nothing else sounds quite like 4 small rotors screaming at 20,000 RPM. Each blade slaps the air hundreds of times a second. In a whine the software has heard 10,000 times in training. By the time the camera finishes swinging onto the target, the system has it locked and tracked. It's Shazam for drones. It hears the sound, names it, and points at the speaker. And listening beats looking for one reason. Sound doesn't care about size. A pigeon and a quadcopter look identical on radar, but they sound nothing alike. But hearing the drone is the easy part. Now the system has to take it down, and it's sitting over a packed city. Shoot it out of the sky here, and the wreckage, plus the rounds fired at it, rains onto a sidewalk full of tourists. A gun is out before anyone reaches for one. So watch what the new system does instead. An interceptor leaps off its launch deck and races out past the perimeter, out toward the intruder, away from anything below. It's a drone itself, a fast one, built for nothing but the chase. Finding the target in the air is its own trick. The interceptor carries a small radar and a camera and hands it off between them as it closes. Far out, the radar does the work, painting the target as a blip to steer toward. Up close, the camera takes over. Because at short range, a camera sees the exact shape and motion a radar smears into a blob. But the handoff has to be clean. Lean on the radar too long, and the interceptor is chasing a fuzzy return. Switch to the camera too early, and it's hunting a speck it can't resolve yet. Get it right, and the interceptor arrives with the target centered in frame. Then comes the net, and the timing runs on a knife's edge. Too early, and the net opens short, and the drone flies past the cloud. Too late, and the interceptor overshoots and has to come around again. The guidance threads that needle in the half second it has. It fires a tethered net the size of a small parachute at the exact range where the net is widest, and the drone has nowhere to slip. The mesh blooms open and swallows the drone whole. The rotors foul, the lip cuts out, and the tangled mess drops into a controlled tow. Then it carries the wreck off to bare ground where it can come down on nobody. That's a kinetic interceptor. And kinetic just means physical. It's not scrambling a signal. It's putting a real object on the target and dragging it down. A net sounds primitive next to a missile. It isn't. It's the answer to a problem that stumped this kind of defense for years. Jamming the drone's signal seems like the obvious move. Break the link between the drone and whoever's flying it, and the thing falls out of the sky. Try it in a city. This is...
Okay, that was a new one, I believe. I got another new one. 7 minutes, you guys. It came out just recently, so I can't remember if I...
Port, printed only unknown. The machine had never failed. In 300 years, it had uncovered every secret fear hidden inside every warrior who dared stand before it. Then the humans stepped inside. 3 seconds later, every warning light turned crimson. The printer shuddered, paused, printed a single word. Unknown. Silence swept across the grand assessment hall. Even the instructors stopped breathing. At the Galactic Dominion Military Academy, every first-year cadet faced the fear analysis machine. Built from ancient neural technology recovered from a vanished civilization, the device reached directly into the subconscious, revealing the single greatest fear that controlled a warrior's decisions. Its predictions were legendary. One cadet feared failure. Another feared isolation. Others feared fire, darkness, drowning, or losing those they loved. The machine had never been wrong. Never. Until Cadet Ava Morgan from Earth quietly walked into the chamber. She wasn't famous. She wasn't physically imposing. She had spent the semester sitting near the back of every classroom, taking notes while louder cadets competed for attention. Many barely remembered her name. The instructors certainly did. Her file listed an unusual background. Earth Disaster Response Corps, Frontier Search and Rescue. Combat Engineering Certification. An odd combination. Professor Kelvar activated the scanner. Brilliant blue energy surrounded Ava. The machine hummed. Its quantum processors searched memory, instinct, hormonal responses, and emotional pathways. Normally, the analysis finished within seconds. This time, the humming grew louder. The chamber lights flickered. Display screens began filling with contradictory data. Primary fear. The text vanished, recalculating again. Nothing. Technicians exchanged confused glances. One whispered nervously, "It has never done this." The machine suddenly projected thousands of overlapping images across the chamber. A burning city, a collapsing bridge, an alien child crying beneath twisted metal, a spacecraft losing atmosphere, floodwaters swallowing buildings, a frozen wilderness, darkness, fire, vacuum, war. Each image disappeared almost as quickly as it appeared. Professor Kelvar frowned. It cannot establish a dominant fear. Then the printer finally activated. Everyone leaned forward. The paper slowly emerged. Only one word appeared, unknown. Complete silence followed. A senior cadet laughed nervously. "So, she's fearless?" Professor Kelvar shook his head immediately. "No, only fools are fearless." He turned toward Ava. "What did you experience inside the simulation?" She thought for a moment. "A lot of emergencies. And I started making a rescue plan." Several cadets stared. "You weren't afraid?" Ava smiled softly. "Of course I was. I just didn't have time to think about it." The hall became quiet again. Professor Kelvar requested a deeper diagnostic. The Academy's oldest artificial intelligence reviewed the raw neural recordings. Minutes later, its synthesized voice echoed through the chamber. Analysis complete. Subject experiences fear normally. However, fear is consistently overridden by conditioned mission prioritization. The display changed. Instead of emotional responses, a decision tree appeared. Child trapped. Rescue, reactor failing, stabilize, structure collapsing, evacuate. hostile contact, protect civilians. Every scenario produced the same result. Action first. Fear later. The AI continued. Human subject does not suppress fear. Human subject repurposes fear into immediate operational focus. Murmurs spread throughout the academy. One instructor whispered, "The machine wasn't broken. It simply couldn't classify someone whose fear always becomes purpose." Before anyone could respond, emergency sirens exploded across the campus. A training shuttle carrying 30 cadets lost power during atmospheric descent. The damaged craft slammed into the mountains surrounding the academy. Flames rose into the sky. Communication failed. Professor Kelvar immediately organized rescue teams, but someone was already running. Ava. She grabbed emergency equipment without waiting for orders. Several cadets instinctively followed. The crash site was chaos. Fuel fires burned across shattered rock. The shuttle balanced dangerously near the edge of a cliff. Injured cadets cried for help inside the wreckage. One wrong movement would send the entire craft into the canyon below. Many rescuers hesitated. Ava didn't. She crawled beneath twisted support beams, directed others where to brace the damaged hull, built emergency anchors
That's what I
from
said,
broken
Andrew, when I
landing gear.
saw that.
One by one,
Very
every
interesting.
trapped
I got a few
cadet
other ones
emerged alive.
that are interesting.
Only after the final survivor reached safety did Ava finally sit down. Her hands trembled. Her breathing became uneven. A medic approached. "You're shaking." She nodded. "Yeah, I guess the fear finally caught up." Professor Kelvar quietly watched from a distance. At sunset, he returned to the assessment hall. Without speaking, he removed the report labeled "Unknown." Beneath it, he wrote one final note for future instructors. Error corrected. Fear identified. Humans fear exactly what everyone else fears. They simply refuse to let fear make the next decision. Years later, every military academy in the Galactic Coalition studied Cadet Ava Morgan's evaluation. Not because humanity lacked fear, but because humans had mastered something far more dangerous. They could carry fear into the fire and still keep moving. For the galaxy eventually learned a truth no machine could ever fully calculate. The greatest weapon humanity ever forged was not courage without fear. It was the unbreakable will to act, even while fear walked beside them. The fear analysis machine tested every...
Yep, very interesting. I got a few other ones I'm going to be showing. Next 6 are short ones, and then we'll get to the Trish and Vinny videos, and then get close to playing that one important video. A lot of good stuff out today. Oh, I got to share. Well, I got some stuff I want to read before I do the next videos. I got 4 new Derek videos too on TikTok. Why go? Amazon data centers in Oregon have poisoned the deep aquifer, whatever that word is, with wastewater 7 times the federal limit. This toxic legacy is linked to local clusters of miscarriages, organ failure, and rare cancer. Sad news there. And I was telling, I can't remember who I was telling, but we got some traders, you guys. Anybody catch that? Can you believe, Kay, that Ted Cruz is on there? Wow. More money that they got. Somebody's missing. Okay, now we'll get to the short ones here. Not sure which one's going to be coming up. This is a new update on an old story, you guys.
Family, where forgotten Filipino history finally comes alive. Today, we're diving deep into MH370, the fisherman who found it. A story that rewrites everything we thought we knew about our beginnings. March 8th, 2014. 239 people vanished into thin air. Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. The greatest mystery in aviation history. $200 million spent searching. 46,000 square miles of ocean scanned. Nothing. Until a fisherman's net caught something impossible.
Wow.
December 2025. Off the coast of Palawan, Philippines, Roberto de los Santos pulled up wreckage that 4 governments swore didn't exist. This is the story they buried, the conspiracy they confirmed, and the truth that changes everything we thought we knew about MH370. The black box was never lost. It was hidden. Curiosity. Roberto de los Santos is 54 years old. He's been fishing the waters off Palawan his entire life. December 3rd, 2025 started like any other morning. But at 6:47 a.m., his net snagged on something heavy, something that shouldn't be there. Roberto. I thought maybe anchor, maybe old fishing equipment, but when I see the metal, I know this is something else. What Roberto pulled from the water was a section of aircraft fuselage, approximately 2 meters long, covered in barnacles, with a serial number still visible, 9M-MRO, the registration number of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. But Roberto didn't just find wreckage. He found something the official investigation claimed was lost forever. Attached to the fuselage section, still magnetically clamped, was a flight data recorder, a black box, and it was still transmitting. Shock. Within 48 hours, the Philippine Coast Guard secured the wreckage. Within a week, aviation experts from 3 countries descended on Manila. What they found on that black box changed everything. The cockpit voice recorder captured the final 17 minutes of Flight 370. Not the final 2 hours as everyone believed, but the final 17 minutes. Pilot voice. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysian 370. We have electrical failure. Multiple systems down. Hi everyone. Welcome back to our Histo PM.
Very sad story that was. We'll be getting to Derek videos here shortly.
Get to hire the migrants. When they hire them, they pay them less. Okay, and also they could get kickbacks from the government. I own a convenience store, for instance. I hire you, you're from India. Then I get an MLR9, I get to hire you, and basically what happens is I pay you $20 an hour. The government every 3 months gives me a 30% kickback. I was in Prince George, my hometown. The people at the movie theater, The lady was telling me she doesn't want to work here anymore because everyone she works with is Indian and they all speak Punjab. So she goes to work. She's a Canadian kid that grew up in a small conservative town that can't work in a place because no one that she works with actually speaks English, because they come here and they don't speak English either. If you were that person that owned the movie theater and your cost of doing business were, 30% went straight into just hiring the kids, hiring employees. Now, if that 30% now to pay 60% of that 30% because you got that all back, you're going to make more money. So what do people do? They take care of themselves and their family. So they will hire those people because their family is going to get rewarded as a result.
All right, that's Nick's mom. Here's another new one, you guys. I don't remember.
At this point, we've talked about multiple proofs of the firmament, but the one that puts the nail in the coffin are rainbows, and even more mind-blowing are double rainbows and how they look in Alaska versus Antarctica. But before we get into that, let's talk about how a single rainbow works. At some point, you've probably asked yourself, why is a rainbow in the shape of a dome, or how does it get its shape? Science will tell you that a rainbow is caused by sunlight and atmospheric conditions. As light enters a water droplet, slows down and bends as it goes from air to denser water. The light reflects off the inside of a droplet, separating into its component wavelength or colors. When light exits the droplet, it makes a rainbow. Now, some of this is true, except the water droplets are only there to work as a screen to capture what's being projected. The first thing to understand is that light has to go through a glass prism, and whenever it goes through that glass prism, it leaves and the light refracts, and it goes into all those colors you see in the rainbow. And a rainbow always takes the shape of its glass prism. And you can test this out at home. Get a glass, fill it up with water, and then use a light source to shine it through the glass of water and see what happens. And what you'll find is the shape of the rainbow is going to be determined by the glass prism shape. So using a dome-shaped glass will give you a dome-shaped rainbow. The Word of God says in Job 37:18 that the sky is strong as a molten looking glass, or some versions say a molten mirror. The firmament is the dome-shaped glass prism which gives the rainbow its shape. Now remember, you can't always see a rainbow outside on any given day, but if you get a water hose and turn the mist on, you can see a rainbow because the water acts as a screen. Now let's get deep and talk about the double rainbow. You can see the original rainbow in the sky, a double rainbow right above it, and in the water there's a reflection of the rainbow. Let's talk about the reflection in the water real quick. You can see the colors of the rainbow in the water are inverted. They're upside down compared to the rainbow in the sky, and that's because it's a reflection of the original rainbow. Now for the really cool part that's gonna blow your mind. You see how the double rainbow, which is above the original, how the colors are also inverted and upside down? It's because the original rainbow is being reflected off of the glass prism above it. The rainbow is being reflected off the glass firmament, and that's why the colors on a double rainbow appear to be inverted. Here's a science experiment you can do at home to show you that the double rainbow is being reflected off the glass firmament. Get a piece of paper and draw a rainbow on it. Hold it up to a glass mirror and see how the colors invert when holding it up to the mirror. Just like a double rainbow we see in the sky being reflected off the glass firmament. Now for how rainbows appear different in Alaska versus Antarctica. This photo was taken in Alaska, and you can see a reference to where this is on the map with the red dot and how it's closer to the center of the Earth. Now remember, a dome gets higher up the closer you are to the center of it. But guess what happens when you go further out towards the edge of the Earth? Let's go a little further down in Canada. You can see the rainbow isn't arched quite as high as it was in Alaska. Now when we go to Australia, which is much closer to Antarctica, you can see the rainbow is looking more flat and not as tall as it was in Alaska and Canada. Now if we go all the way out to Antarctica, the rainbow looks like nothing we have ever seen before. It's almost like a pancake. Here's another photo from Antarctica, and it's possible these two photos could have been taken from different locations in Antarctica, but you can compare the height of the rainbows in these different locations and see a clear difference in the height of all of them. So if the firmament is lower near Antarctica, it would make sense as to why the rainbows appear smaller the further you go south. And if the firmament is at its highest point near the center of the Earth, it would make sense as to why rainbows appear the way they do in Alaska with a higher arch. And in the next video, we'll take a deeper look at stars and talk about their distance from Earth.
So that was another new one. I think I got DJ coming up now. Four short ones here. Oh.
Because he's a preacher, because he's a therapist, anything like that. Most people, even patriots, have no clue what the president's role is. The chief executive officer of the executive branch had no idea what his role is. Liberals definitely don't. Liberals would vote, they'd vote a therapist in before they vote. They think that that's what the president's supposed to do. They have no clue about this nation. And liberals especially would have everybody on a train headed to a camp just like that. Just because they are so incognizant of what's going on. They are so ignorant and complacent and lazy. And they're more worried about chopping off their yin-yangs. They're more worried about chopping off ham candles. They're more worried about tucking the sausages in looking like a thief. They're more worried about putting males in female sports. They're more worried about coloring their armpits to match their hair, looking like frou-frous. All right, they're more worried about that stuff. Letting men go in women's bathroom. And that's why we look the way we look. That's why it had to look this way. So if you will separate your feelings and your emotions and quit going and watching everybody and anybody just because, oh, maybe they deliver it a lot better. No, the OGs are where it's at, first off. That's where you're going to get in trouble. And then two, you might want to listen to the people who know military more, because it's all outlined in the blueprint. This diagram, if you'll go to Google or whatever search engine you're using, someone the other day wrote in and said, hey, can you quit using Google? Because that's the enemy, and it don't look good on you. No, you want to go to Google. You want to show these people that you know what's going on in their search engine. That's called search engine optimization, SEO. Show them what's going on. Show them you know what's going on. Do just that. If you think that Google, first off, these people have all been dealt with. Did you not see the article this past week of Mark Zuckerberg changing to the Libertarian Party? Now, I know most of these people have been replaced right now during this time period because of this very diagram. If you'll go to the search engine and type in 2016, comma, Special Operations Command, comma, Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide, enter. It's going to bring up a .mil site. All I use are .gov, .mil. You notice how all the people who hate me, they never use .mil or .gov to quote unquote debunk. It's always these crazy, all kinds of, he don't know what he's talking about. They never show you .mil or .gov. They never try to debunk with the same actual laws and orders. That's how you know when we are winning. That's how you know we, the patriots, are in control. But you want to be with the right people. You want to make sure you're following the right people. There's a lot of handlers out there still on the low-level hanging fruit. They're still out there. That's what President Trump means when we got to deal with ramifications. We got to make sure when this is all said and done that little pile down here doesn't fester up again as it's done all these years. So when you empower yourself with a great foundation of what the actual foundation the military operates off of, when you empower, you don't have to be a veteran, but when you empower yourself with that, then you will be unshakable. When someone comes in and says something to you, whatever it is, you'll be unshakable. That's why I am that confident, because my foundation is solid. I don't let a bunch of noise and all this stuff out there. It's stuff. It's noise. I don't let all that distract me. It don't shape me when someone will message me something. Hey, what do you think about this? If it don't come from a .mil or a .gov that's in the laws and orders backed by what's in vote currently right now, and President Trump backs up every speech, he has so much stuff that all I got to do is listen for the keywords. Boom! Go. Here's the law.
Okay, I got a few more.
Now, they could always slip up somewhere down the road. I'm not wishing that on them, but can happen because people are people. But most everybody I've been on with the last 3 years have been vetted. They're good people. I understand also when people say, why aren't more veterans stepping up? Well, I'm sorry. A lot of veterans don't want to be on the screen. A lot of veterans don't want to deal with all this, and then the keyboard warriors. But some veterans don't know what's going on either. So that's on them. We can't make them step up to the plate if they want to. So there's a lot of things you just don't need to worry about, just like anything else in life. Too many people are worried on things you can't control. Stop. All right. Focus on the things you can sink your teeth into, that you can put your mind onto, that you put positivity and, your whatever it is. Like, I tell people, find your niche. So what you've been seeing lately. All right. So Lou, I got a choreographed podcast today, but you've been seeing all the libtards out there and their, no kings protest. First off, well, one of the hypocrisies they do is they'll say something like this. They'll say, like the Venezuelan strikes. Right now, there's strikes on Venezuelan vessels. They'll say that's law enforcement's job. Well, that's law enforcement's role and duty and jurisdiction. No, it's not. The Caribbean Sea is that's not law enforcement. That's not Chicago police's jurisdiction. That's not Miami police that I'm on with.
Okay, 2 more short ones here, I think I got.
He just said this like a couple weeks ago again. He said, I've signed over 400 executive actions, not orders, actions. There's only 152 on the Federal Register right now from January the 20th to present day. There's only 152 from executive orders, proclamations, and other documents. Only 152. Where are the others? He said, I've signed 4 presidential emergency action documents. Now, this is where we're going to get into some fun stuff. Why are so many ambassadors that President Trump is appointing, why are they veterans? Do you know what they call an ambassador in the military? I'm just going to pretend that someone's going to answer, but we don't have that kind of time. An ambassador is also called a chief of mission, a COM. Chief of mission. Now, we're going to read a little bit here. I'm going to pull up some stuff and read for you. Some fun stuff. All right, Title 50, Section 3052 talks about your ambassadors. All right. There's that Title 50 again. Whoa, what do you know? War and national defense. Boy, if only some influencers out there would get with the program, but they can't because they'll have to do what? They'll have to give credit where it's due because they didn't know and they've gone too long without knowing. All right, joint publication. We're going to read this really quick. Joint publication 3-57. All right, I'm going to read this really quick. You can all look this up, all public material. You should want to look it up. Letter C on page 23. All right. Promoting stability in support of national objectives is often a key responsibility. Stability activities include military missions conducted by GCCs and subordinate commanders in coordination with other United States government departments and agencies and their implementing partners. JFCs, in coordination with the Chief of Mission, may use components of CMO as a tool to mitigate suffering. The next line down is the title, Military Government. A military government is established during military operations when replacement or sustainment of civil authority is required to maintain stability and governance in an area that has been legally occupied. Military government supports United States instruments of national power abroad through executive governance tasks mandated by United States policy and international law. The objective of a military government is to establish law and order for United States government stabilization and reconstruction efforts, the end state of which is a reconstructed indigenous government that employs government policies consistent with United States interests. When force is necessary and a territory is occupied, the occupying force imposes military authority, the law of land warfare. You got to read all this.
So that's the latest on Derek Thompson on TikTok there, Fine Go. I don't know if you saw those or not. 3.5 on Benny Johnson next video. Then I got our TikTok 3-letter word lady. I got 4 or 3 of them today.
Outrage that this is now being redacted and censored.
Well, Benny, thanks so much for having me on, and thank you for your fight and for your words of support for Erica and the family, as you've been doing all along, your fight for the truth. Look, this is an outrage because, Benny, people like you and me and those of us who are close to Charlie, we just wanted the truth ever since we've been to the right, ever since we got past that first video. We wanted to know, who was it that fired that shot? Why did he fire that shot? What happened? Why did we lose our friend? And how did we get to this point? And this is finally now that they are sitting on key evidence of not just someone who was, witnessed something far away, but the roommate of the accused shooter, the person who was in a relationship with him, the person who received the confession note, the letter, the text messages, who knew about the radicalization that was going on. And there's a 37-minute video and audio interview of this individual, who, by the way, is the trans individual that when we talk about the trans issue being involved, this is the transgender person who has now come forward, or at the time came forward and then came forward again in April for these interviews, and will, by the way, be called to speak at the trial. And for those of us who want truth, for those of us who want all of this on the record, the fact that they are blocking it, the fact that they are denying us access to this crucial information, it speaks not just to the integrity of this case, but it speaks to the very integrity of the judicial process itself. How can we function as a society if we don't understand why these crimes are being, these heinous and evil and despicable acts are being committed in our society?
Under what grounds would anybody be able to block this? This seems like the core pillar of the state's case against Tyler Robinson. How can you just erase that?
Well, I'm personally, I'm just livid. I couldn't be more angry about this. And I'm by the way, I commend the fact that the Kirk family's personal lawyer filed a motion early this morning and worked all night to get this up, stating exactly that the presence of the family in the courtroom is not meant to be hollow. It's not a hollow presence. They need a meaningful presence, and a meaningful presence is, let's keep in mind, Benny, this isn't just about showing the public the evidence. It's not just about showing, guys like me and you the evidence. It's about the family, letting the family see the facts and see the evidence to try to find some kind of closure in the midst of chaos as to what happened to their beloved husband and son. And now they're turning around and saying, oh, well, this amounts to a confession, and we don't want to air a confession in a pretrial setting. You could prejudice the jury. Or some of these acts that they discuss are of a personal nature. And since it's of a personal nature, talking about their relationship, for example, then how is that relevant to what he did on the UVU campus? Again, Benny, they are just throwing up roadblock after roadblock, pulling out anything they can find to try to block this. And the judge is going along with all of it. Look, they got this hotshot lawyer out of LA, Richard Novak. He's known for this kind of stuff. He's known as a top criminal defense attorney, and this is what he does. He blocks evidence from getting into the court. And here in Utah, the prosecutors, they're good people, but this is a guy who's very, very slick, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
All right, that's a big one. I just got a video that's 8 minutes from Nick. He had everything on video. So I'm going to play this one.
Time anybody has seen Mitch McConnell since his last public sighting on June 11th before his medical emergency on the 14th, which led to him being hospitalized. Now, CNN has obtained and released video footage that was obtained from a neighbor that was present
This just came
the morning
out,
that
guys.
Mitch
Just came out.
was rushed to the hospital. People have been wondering, is he alive or dead or on life support? And why, for nearly a month now, has his staff and Senate Republican leadership provided almost no details on his condition, while repeatedly declining to answer many questions? And, to be clear, the speculation is not because of fringe conspiracy theorists. It's because the mainstream media, NBC News, reported that they obtained the emergency dispatch audio, which had indicated that McConnell had suffered a cardiac arrest. According to the audio, the first medic on the scene began performing CPR, and we've actually obtained the audio and played it on this channel. So there was indeed an emergency that day, and there was indeed CPR performed on Mitch McConnell, according to mainstream reports. And that reporting immediately raised obvious questions about how severe the condition was, because Mitch McConnell's 84 years old. And if they had to pummel on his chest, then when you have these Republicans saying that they spoke to him on the phone and that he sounded good and alert and is paying attention to the news, it feels like people aren't being truthful with us. But now we have this video footage, and I gotta say, instead of answering questions, this certainly complicates things. But there is one detail hidden in this video that will change how you look at the entire situation. So let's watch it.
Not riding with him.
Okay, so it ain't much. Not the clearest footage in the world, and most of the view is blocked by that SUV. But for a split second, let's go back, and you can see we can make out a motionless patient on a stretcher not moving, and wrapped in what appears to be an orange medical device. And at first, I didn't make much of this either. But then I found a video from an actual EMT who knows exactly what that device is and breaks down exactly what we're looking at.
Mitch McConnell was brought to the hospital on June 14th, allegedly under an unconscious situation. There have been a lot of reports, and I want to give you my perspective with this new video we see as a lawyer, but in this case as an EMT who transports people often. There's some telltale signs in the video that you see here that I want you to take a look at. First off, there are reports that there were CPR being done and that he was resuscitated. There are no CPR efforts that are going on there. If you look at the personnel, nobody's doing CPR, and there's no machine called the Lucas doing CPR. Could have he coded while he was in the rig? It's possible. He's also, something that I know very relevant is this orange, and I put a circle around it, thing that you see right here when he gets into the ambulance. That is called a Reeves bag. A Reeves bag is a moving device. We very infrequently use that device. Typically, it is used when a person is incapable of movement in order to get them into either a stretcher or a stair chair.
Okay, so according to the EMT, what we witnessed was a Reeves bag, which means that when they found Mitch McConnell, he was incapable of moving onto a stretcher on his own. So they had to put this thing under him, which is like a blanket with 4 handles, where medical professionals had to pick him up and hoist him onto the stretcher because he could not move. And he says that contrary to reports, there's no CPR being performed, there's no medical equipment to perform CPR, and points this out as if it contradicts previous reports. But let's dive a little deeper into that, because the neighbor of McConnell, who provided the footage to CNN, said that they opened their door to find commotion outside the home around 8:30 a.m. on June 14th, and then emergency responders brought the person on the stretcher out from McConnell's residence about 30 minutes after noticing emergency vehicles blocking the street. And so the reason I point that out is because if they found Mitch McConnell unconscious and were inside the home for 30 minutes, they could have provided CPR and stabilized him before moving him onto the stretcher and taking him out to the ambulance. And so just because we don't see CPR in the footage when he's in the ambulance, that doesn't mean CPR was not performed. But the EMT points out another interesting piece of information, which we need to dive into as well.
It's not what I see, but what I don't see. I don't see a lot of frenetic activity. I don't see a lot of extraordinary resuscitative efforts. I'm not seeing advanced life support there. You know, there may be. There doesn't seem to be a great degree of alacrity or movement that you would typically see in a person. So I don't know what that means. It's just surprising to me. But I will also say this. From what I'm researching, DC rules, if he were dead, then the medical examiner should have been at the scene, that they would not transport them. We don't transport them either. We call the medical examiner if you have an unexpected, suspicious, violent, or unattended death, and those would be the individuals that would take it from there.
Okay, so according to him, if Mitch McConnell was dead, then he would not be transported until a medical examiner or coroner arrived on the scene. That the EMTs themselves don't have permission to transport somebody who is dead. But let's keep in mind, this is only his interpretation based on 10 seconds of footage and his prior experience as an EMT, which I don't want to dismiss. But he's suggesting that Mitch McConnell was probably still alive when he left his residence. But here's the thing. We're talking about a high-ranking U.S. senator who spent 40 years in the Senate, who's 84 years old. His medical emergency was serious enough to require CPR, serious enough that EMTs had to use specialized equipment to move him because he couldn't move on his own power. And a month later, the American people still haven't been given a clear update from one of the longest serving and most powerful members of the United States Senate. And I still, despite all of this, feel that we are not being told the truth. Let's remember also that on the scene you had Capitol Police officers who I would imagine have some level of control and influence to dictate how the situation unfolds, and it may deviate from what would happen to a normal private citizen that were in the same circumstances. So right now all we've got is vague statements, anonymous sources, politicians telling us I talked to him and he sounded great, some grainy footage from a neighbor, and that's it. So after watching this footage, the story is far from over. And the people of Kentucky should be demanding answers like never before. Because the video answered almost none of the questions that the people have been asking. If anything, it created a whole new set of them.
They don't want to tell
and
us
so I want to know what
nothing.
you guys think about all this down in the comments section. Let me know what you think.
They don't want us to tell us nothing. They're hiding everything. That was a good one that just came out for Nick. So yeah, I want to play Nick Shirley and one video tomorrow. So we'll have two big videos to play tomorrow. I'm going to stop at the 3-hour mark. And we got the report on our guy from Friday. I think this is 5.
The 9th Inspector General at the United States Department of Labor. It's the first Fraud Friday of our 251st year, and we're continuing to crack down on more schemes that prey on American workers and taxpayers. This week, the Office of Inspector General launched the most aggressive investigation into H-1B and perm employment visas that this administration has seen. In partnership with law enforcement and President Trump and Vice President Vance's task force to eliminate fraud, we have uncovered widespread H-1B visa schemes, gaming the system and undercutting you, the American worker. We're exposing the criminals flooding America with cheap labor, using fake applications, wage kickback schemes, and human trafficking networks that are stealing American jobs. Enough is enough. This is a full-scale war on employment fraud, and we're just getting started. We're following every lead, sending out dozens of subpoenas, putting criminals in handcuffs, and putting you, the American worker, first. That brings me to Little Rock, Arkansas, where Cambria Greer was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release, and ordered to pay over $334,000 in restitution. Greer submitted applications for unemployment assistance using stolen identities to multiple state agencies, including California, Texas, Alabama, Illinois, and others. A message to fraudsters: you can run, but you cannot hide. My office will find you, and we will put you behind bars. Finally, in Boston, Massachusetts, John Oliveira and Sons Concrete was sentenced to 18 months of probation and ordered to pay $115,000 in restitution for violating OSHA standards in a 2023 incident that led to one of their workers' death. Employers carry a legal and moral obligation to protect workers from known hazards. John Oliveira and Sons deliberately failed to comply with OSHA safety standards, resulting in a preventable tragedy that cost an American worker his life. Here at the Department of Labor, Office of Inspector General, the safety of you, the American worker, is one of our top priorities. We remain committed, working with OSHA, the solicitor, and our law enforcement partners to ensure those who neglect worker safety and violate federal laws, that they are held accountable. Under President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, we are reigning in the golden age of the American worker. I stand alongside our acting secretary, Keith Sonderling, dedicated to rooting out all fraud, no matter how big or how small, and ensuring American jobs go to American workers. If you suspect fraud or a worker who believes they have been displaced or trafficked, call our hotline at 1-800-347-3756 or visit oig.dol.gov. As always, follow us on social media to stay up to date on all of our investigations and enforcement actions. I'm Inspector General Anthony.
Okay, I fired it before. We got the next 7 minutes. There's another one I'm not sure of, you guys. We played it and everything.
Maybe I'm missing something. But for the life of me, I can't figure this out. I read and I read and I watch and I watch. Everyone wants to tell me how the world is going to hell. Everyone wants to tell me why. The environment is threatened by corporations. The police are racist thugs with guns. Amazon doesn't give their workers pee breaks. The Gaza Strip is an open-air prison. Wall Street is plundering the wealth of our country, and the IMF is raping the wealth of the rest of the world. All governments of the world's countries are corrupt. There is starvation when there is food. There is greed when there is need. And you were telling me as if I'm directly responsible. We had a response to this type of misdirected blame when I was a kid. It's your world, I'm just living in it. I think that it is apropos at this juncture in history as well. The alternative press, indeed the entirety of citizen journalism, is as effectual as a long drink of water. It isn't getting anything done, save to inform people that there are problems in the world, as if people didn't realize that. But they're pinpointing who is responsible, you might well add. Well, that's the first step to changing things. Not unless you also have their home addresses. Never in the history of this sad planet have so many bitched about so much. And it all amounts to nothing. It isn't changing a damn thing. I've yet to hear, storm the castle, lynch the bastards. We all know who is responsible for the nightmare that is the human condition, that as Mark Twain once observed about the weather. No one does anything about it. We all know what needs to be done, and yet we play the peaceful protest game, made up by the very people that stand to benefit from such innocuous solutions. And we are left with only the idiots that burn down Little Caesars. That'll show him. But things are not just that simple. There are various solutions to various problems, you say. I have always been what is known as a hammer mechanic. If you can't get it done with a hammer, use a bigger one. Of course, I could get into a lot of trouble calling for revolution here. But fuck it, I'm tired of everyone telling everyone else what is wrong. They are telling the wrong people. You tell Lloyd Blankfein about the misery he has caused in the world just before you tighten the noose around his neck. You tell Rupert Murdoch about the millions he has wronged minutes before you throw him out a 30-story window. You inform Bibi Netanyahu that he is a racist, murdering pig the instant that you toss him unarmed into a crowd of Palestinian prisoners. These people deserve no more justice than this. But what about the rule of law? You might well ask. Did you vote for a law that allows corporations to attain the rights of the individual? Did you vote for the Patriot Act? Did you vote to make Israel a state within Palestine? No. Well, who did all these things without your consent? I could go on forever, and have for years here, about what the roots of our problems are.
You guys remember this one, or
change anything? A child can see how to begin to fix the inequities of this planet.
about 2 minutes, 2.5.
But it takes a politically correct adult to avoid addressing the problems effectively. And it ain't about carrying placards or suing some company or other. It ain't about voting for yet another charming, greedy bastard. You know this. Yet you pee your knickers every time you think about doing the right thing. Putting your foot down, getting a spine. So, yes, I am calling for the revolution to begin. Don't let them convince you that anarchy isn't what you need to order off the menu. It cannot be any worse than this antiquated hierarchy that we live in today. Again, you know this, but you are afraid. You admire V for blowing up Parliament to the tune of the 1812 overture and slashing the throats of the elite rulers. And yet, you pause at such rash solutions yourself. It makes us no different from them to sink to that level, I hear you saying. Yeah. And what you call out in all your bitching has a logical conclusion. Revolution is revolution. It isn't watching YouTube videos about what we should be doing in the face of annihilation of our species by a few. You string them up. I don't know how I can say that any more clearly. V isn't going to do it for you. Jesus isn't going to do it for you. Muhammad or Kim Kardashian aren't going to fight your battles. I haven't been around much of late. This is the reason. I'm sick of all the bitching from people that don't want to sacrifice anything for a better world. When you get a group together with torches and pitchforks, give me a call. And stop telling me about it unless you're ready to fucking well stop it.
That was another interesting one. I hope that was okay. I got a 7-minute one with one guy we haven't played in a while on Telegram.
I'm sorry. I'm going to be real with you. I'm tired. I'm tired of everything I thought that was good in this country growing up not being what it actually is. I'm tired of everything not being what it was told to me to be. I'm tired of the fact that I served in the military, okay? I went overseas, I protected the poppy fields in Afghanistan, and guess what? That's all I was really there for. I wasn't there for any type of real patriotic anything. I was there to subjugate a Middle Eastern country, probably on the behest of another Middle Eastern country that starts with the letter I. I'm tired of finding out everything about my food has been a lie to me. I'm tired of figuring out everything about our government has been a lie. I'm tired of figuring out that sports, something that I love at the professional level, is just a giant circus. They just want you to bet. They just want you to drink. They just want you to spend money. I'm tired of every single moment of my life being treated like it's just like I'm a walking pay stub for them. Every moment I'm being marketed to. Every moment my data is being utilized so that ads can be more perfect to give a higher likelihood that maybe I will purchase now or in the future. I hate that everything's becoming a subscription. I hate that the tech bros are slowly winning and turning this into a tech surveillance state. I'm tired that everything politically is so divided that no one can even talk about it without getting angry. I'm tired that we can't make any progress. I'm tired that we can't get on the same page. I'm tired that we've seen everything happen since the Epstein list. We have plenty of reason to do something about this as a people, and nothing has happened, myself included. I'm tired of not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, guys. I'm tired of not being able to come on here and tell you, look, housing prices are going to come down to X because of Y. Hey, they created this new affordable product here to help people to be able to travel, and they're going to take care of this, that, and the third. Or, hey, they actually fixed wages. You're going to be able to work hard and make good money and make a lifestyle for you here in America. It's only going to take 3 years. Here's the plan. Like, I wish they had that. I wish there was legislation that was coming out about term limits, age limits, insider trading, getting corporate and federal, or corporate and country... corporate and foreign, lobbying out of our Congress. I wish to God I could get on here and tell you that they destabilized the carried interest loophole, that 20 and 2 is gone for private equity. I wish I could tell you that they reinstated Glass-Steagall, that they got rid of this 2004 margin rule change, that Citizens United's been overturned. I wish I could tell you these things. And we know that they need to be done. We know that the greedflation, because of unfettered corporate spend and greed since COVID, led us to a world where this K-shaped economy feels like the bottom shape of the K is dying financially. And the top side of the 10, the top 10% of the economy that's doing good since COVID, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people, by the way. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a Nepo baby. I earned it. But, like, I'm one of those people. I can still see those people struggling, though. I'm still trying to do what I can to help that person. I don't do enough. I can do more. I can volunteer more, like a food bank. I could get more involved in my local community, local politics, local boards. I could do more. We could all do more to help our fellow man. But why is it we're watching our fellow man have the rug pulled out from under them? We're yelling that the rug has been pulled out from under them, and everyone's like, "Why are you being so political?" I just want people to be able to survive, eat food, and have a shelter. I don't want people to go bankrupt because of a hospital bill. I don't want someone to have to work 3 jobs to get by. I don't want a single mom to think it's impossible. I don't want 12% of under 30-year-olds to not be married or have a kid. I don't want everyone to just rent something and be happy. That's not fun. Having a garden's fun. Being able to play with your kids in the backyard is fun. Painting your house pink if you want is fun. Okay? I want us to be able to have fun in our life. I want us to be able to live this life and enjoy this life and love the people around us and bring up real community and have real friends and have real connections and not be socially distanced and not be just kept behind these screens all the time. I want to connect. I know you want that maybe too. I want my family and my daughter to walk into a labor market that isn't controlled by robots and AI running around everywhere. They're shooting lasers. Like, I don't want this future lily pads toward economic totalitarianism that we are on. We are on a path where they will continue to divide us between blue and red until they have all the green. That's the path we are on. I'm tired of finding out everything connects back to Israel. I'm tired of finding out that we're not ever going to get anything more on the Epstein files. I'm tired of learning that they know exactly what's going on in our economy and they fail to do anything about it. I hate the fact that the next time our economy wobbles, they're just going to bail out banks and print money. I hate it. I hate it all the way down to the founding of the country. There's so much that is corrupt and it just institutionally bad. And we're seeing it now in real time, maybe because of social media and the internet. Maybe just because of social media and the internet. Because since the central banking epidemic that happened from 1907 to 1913 that led into the Great New Deal, the Bretton Woods Agreement, the Nixon shock, and then getting into, you have the Powell Memo and the Fair Credit Act Union and around that time. And then you have Reaganomics, and then you have NAFTA, and then you have Glass-Steagall, all the way up to the 2008 housing crash, Citizens United. Like, walking through all of it, it's like, wow, we've really been on this path of totalitarianism for some time. And now it's like we're realizing it. Now it's like we're finally seeing it come to light. We want to stop it. We don't know how. I'm not saying I have the solution, but man, I get tired of watching day by day people get just a fire under their butt for we need to make change, only to see that change not come to fruition, only to see that group that they were a part of fall apart, only to see the energy dilapidate from what was originally something that was very strong. And I think there's a lot of energy right now that is sitting as stagnant energy in this country that could be turned into kinetic energy if we move together as one. If we started to grow together, if we started to come together with ideas, with movements, with ways that we can actually just connect at a human level and understand at a human level that we can do better for each other as humans. And I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. Let me pray for you. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to have this piece of technology in front of us. I don't even understand how it works. I don't get Bluetooth. Lord, I pray for peace that surpasses all understanding upon everybody that hears my voice, whether or not they believe in you or not, believe in another God or not. I just pray that they can feel that peace in their body, the anxiety struck from them, the stress taken away from them. I thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to speak together today. I thank you for the love that you'll put into this person's life. I thank you for the transparency and justice you're going to bring for those that deserve it. I thank you, Lord, that you are protecting those that are belittled and marginalized by these evil, corrupt figures. And Lord, I pray you bring justice, hell, and brimstone down on the evil individuals that cover up, conspire, and corrupt our great country, Lord. Thank you for giving us this time on this earth, and let us use it responsibly in your name. Amen. My hair looks crazy.
That was good.
Don't do drugs.
He does job. I got our TikTok ladies. I got 3 of them.
Video. I just keep getting pushed back because breaking news. I wanted to jump on here as soon as I found out. This has to do with Texas camps. You would think after what happened at Camp Mystic that everyone would be, especially in Texas, on their best behavior. We're really everywhere. But one of the directors of Camp Longhorn, Nancy Robertson Manning, was arrested yesterday for a DUI. She is the daughter of Tex Robertson, who is the founder of Camp Longhorn. Camp Longhorn's about 87, 90-ish years old, and his children and then grandchildren run portions of it. There's C3, Inks Lake, and Indian Springs. And on the website, she is listed as, I guess, the director of Indian Springs. Now, she's in her 70s. I don't believe, that she is out there running the day-to-day, but she does form the governing board, and I'll put up a picture of the police report here. Her address is listed as the camp in Burnett, Texas, which is concerning. I'm not sure exactly where the stop occurred. I'm trying to get that information, but it's concerning to me that someone that was intoxicated could have been driving through that camp where there are children. So this is extremely concerning to me. I am concerned because I'm not sure that parents at Camp Longhorn know. I do think the camp has a duty to tell parents this information so they can decide ultimately what they want to do. And again, I am not here to be some camp villain. My own child goes to camp. I don't think camp is bad, but I think transparency is good, and I think that standards are good. So I just wanted to share that piece of information. I can definitely update you as more information comes.
Okay, 2 more with her. Winding down, you guys. 3-hour mark.
Strikes with Iran. And Iran has struck back other countries as well. That is due to U.S. oil tankers and commercial vessels being, harassed in the Strait of Hormuz, which was part of the MOU not that long ago, that Iran wouldn't be doing that, would be allowing free passage. So what does this all mean? Are we headed towards a ground invasion? That's I think the questions that I get most. This is just my opinion, and I do want to preface this by saying I think we have the best military in the world. Many members of my family are veterans, and so I support our military 100%. However, I don't know that conventional military action is the best way to enact regime change in Iran, if that's what people want. Iran uses something called the Mosaic strategy in terms of their military. And so what that means is they don't have this kind of singular military. It's not consolidated. It is fractured, and that's probably on purpose. It makes it more difficult to be toppled. So they have the IRGC, which you know about, and then they also have the Besieged, who I've talked about on here, but that's their internal, I guess, morality police, but they do other things as well. And that's hundreds of thousands of people that are in that. And I think any war with them on a ground level would be a war of attrition. Also, we just have to think about the country in and of itself. And I'm not saying this is a reason not to go in, but it's just considerations. It is 4 times the size of Iraq, just geographically. They have 3 times the population of Iraq, because I'm seeing a lot of comparisons of, we should do what we did with Iraq. And no 2 countries are exactly the same. I think that's part of the problem. People thought, I don't know why they thought this, because I've been out for a while, and I could have told you this wouldn't have worked, that they would topple just like Venezuela. There's no way. And so I think Also, Iran's population centers are pretty deep inside their country, even if you just look at a map. And so that would make it very, very difficult to get to them as well. So what is the best way? Again, totally just my opinion. I think this is a case where espionage would actually help. CIA has an interesting history in Iran. I know that we have not always been our best there, and I understand that. One of the things that they can do is sow distrust through sources that they could recruit. Now, CIA probably couldn't do that because it's hard for us to get entry into the country, but other countries can help us. So they could sow distrust between the IRGC and between the Ayatollah and really capitalize on that instability and flip insiders. And the more insiders we flip, the more that we can create a very unstable political environment that would be ripe for regime change and also potentially fuel protests. So that's just my opinion, but let me know what you think.
And one more.
Family's flown his body to DC for a private autopsy. I think that that's a great thing, especially when they have so many questions. They said in an interview, one question that they had was that when they received his phone back, some messages were deleted. Obviously, it'll be important to find out, who deleted those messages, is when were they deleted, what were the messages about, and they may be able to retrieve that information from whomever his carrier is. So I think a secondary autopsy is a great idea. A couple of things I'm seeing, people are talking about how it's crazy dental records were used, to identify him as something must have happened. That's actually not crazy, folks. I do not know what the policy of this medical examiner's office is. However, it actually is a thing that regardless of whether you can identify visually the body or not, they use dental records to make 100% sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that this is the person. So again, it's actually not that strange. Cajun Navy has spoken out. They said that there was a rip current in the area. The police said that they are looking at altercations that took place, a reported altercation that took place in that area. I want folks to understand, on the 4th of July at Horn Island, there could be 300 to 600 boats there, as many as 2,000 people. So like I said before, that 3 p.m. or whenever his friends went back to, that midnight time frame, that's the critical part. And it's going to take a long time to process all of those potential witnesses. It really is. And I think sometimes those might actually be more important in terms, rather than the boys that went back on the boat. So I think those witnesses are really, really key in this case, especially when there are so many questions that are involved. So again, a couple other things I'm seeing. Why did people delete social media accounts? That's suspicious. It's not something that I would do. However, we don't know if they were getting death threats, folks. I get death threats just for, I think, one time saying that Luigi Mangione shouldn't have killed anyone. And I got death threats. My daughter got doxxed at school. I mean, this is what happens. I don't think we understand the reality of it. I also think too that it sounds like police will have a lot of potential digital data to go through. So that's going to take some time until we get an answer. But again, this goes back to what I said before. Please don't leave friends alone. Just don't. Some of you all think that I'm crazy, like to think that, but these are young boys, they're young girls without like fully developed brains. And we really can't be doing that, because this has cost people their lives. There have been multiple cases of this. I don't care who you are. We don't leave people alone. Like even back in my sorority days, we didn't let intoxicated girls take cabs by themselves. Someone went with them. I know it's inconvenient, but this is such an important message to our young people. Update on the Nolan well.
Okay, those were good ones from her. So we got my other lady there. We'll play 3 of them. And I got a funny one that's a minute and a half. Then end it with the X2 report. Or the Wire channel. Tomorrow might be 6 o'clock, guys, tomorrow night. $6 o'clock sound good tomorrow?
And the panic? Oh, it's showing. The governor's practically in meltdown mode, whining to a crowd that President Trump's DOJ is going to step in to monitor next week's California election. Imagine that. The proof of fraud? It is piling up, and we're going to show it all to you. Plus, wait until you see the clip where Gavin brags about California having the largest population of foreign-born residents. It's not a coincidence. It's part of the plan. And today, we're going to connect the dots. Then later in the show, AOC gives a speech that sounds like a one-way ticket straight to the loony bin. And the more she talks, the worse it gets. In fact, this is one of the most comical clips I've seen from her in a while. Plus, a House Democrat gets grilled on CNBC and absolutely humiliated over his flip-flop on the government shutdown. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you're new here, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you all join me today. Prop 50 is on the ballot in California, a measure that would let Gavin Newsom gerrymander the state even further. Now, conservatives are already silenced here. In 2024, President Trump got just over 38% of the vote, yet Democrats hold 43 of the 52 House seats. That means only 9 Republicans represent nearly 40% of California voters. If Prop 50 passes, Democrats could grab 5 more seats, leaving Republicans with just 5 out of 52. Democrats love to cry about democracy, but they've been playing musical chairs for years while telling Republicans, go stand in the corner. Well, not anymore. The right is pulling up its own chair, and they are getting in the game. Now, Gavin's been sweating bullets ever since President Trump said that he might send the National Guard to help secure the election sites. And now the Trump administration is taking it one step further. The DOJ says it will monitor polling places to make sure California's election is free and fair. Here's the start of Newsom's downward spiral.
I was just on the line because the DOJ is being sent out to California to monitor our election. I have an election in November, Prop 50, a statewide election. They have no business, no jurisdiction to monitor it.
Well,
Starting to sound a little nervous there, Governor. Maybe that's because your so-called clean elections are under the microscope and for good reason. I mean, the corruption under your watch has been obvious to anyone with any bit of common sense. We're going to dig into that in just a second. But first, let's see how President Trump responded. And let's just say the trolling was master level. Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, "What's worse, the NBA players cheating at cards and probably much else, or the Democrats cheating on elections? We now know everything. I hope the DOJ pursues this with as much gusto as befitting the biggest scandal in American history. If not, it will happen again, including the upcoming midterms. No mail-in or early voting, yes to voter ID. Watch how totally dishonest the California prop vote is. Millions of ballots being shipped. Get smart, Republicans, before it's too late." Now, Gavin's attempt at firing back reads like this, quote, "Ramblings of an old man that knows he's gonna lose." Well, that's kind of ironic because Gavin went on Stephen Colbert's show, and I can't show it to you, unfortunately, because of copyright issues, but I'm going to read to you exactly what he said. I'm going to try and channel my inner Gavin Newsom because the hypocrisy here is off the charts. He said, quote, "I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red of what is happening in this country and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is." End quote. Now, by Gavin's own definition, that sounds like his rambling of an old man who knows he's going to lose. Here's the reality. President Trump's DOJ absolutely has the authority to monitor elections, any election, to enforce federal voting laws and protect the integrity of the process. They've done it before. They're going to do it again if needed. Now, the state may run the vote, but the feds ensure that it's fair. And judging by Newsom's reaction, it looks like someone's afraid of what they'll find because here's how corruption under his watch is getting exposed. Gavin Newsom's...
Okay, 2 more with her, and I got 2 other ones. I'm way behind.
And just when you think the performance is over, cue the red hat panic because nothing sets them off faster than a MAGA cap and a conservative who won't back down.
Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid freaking red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel. Who do we listen to? That guy. Oh, the felon in the White House? Yeah, listen to him and that will be fine.
Here we go again.
Now he's talking about burning flags. He's going to have flag burning or whatever. Because he knows there's a hell of a lot of flags with his picture on it that are going to get burned.
The failed vice presidential candidate, he's referring to the executive order the president just signed that will implement a 1-year jail sentence on anyone that is caught burning the flag. This was the scene shortly after that order came down outside the White House yesterday. Watch this.
I'm burning this flag as a protest to
that illegal fascist president that sits in that house.
And here's what happens when you F around and find out in Trump's America, because law and order still matters. I mean, that guy isn't just facing arrest. He could be charged with 5th-degree arson because lighting a fire inside a federal park, yeah, that's a felony. But don't worry, the Democrats' calm and rational response didn't stop there. Check out this gem from a Senate candidate at a Bernie rally.
We don't back down. We don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
Well, I'm guessing that's a mostly peaceful chokeout that he's talking about, because apparently in today's Democrat playbook, it's all about fighting dirty and never admitting the obvious. And you really know the wheels are coming off when MSNBC's Morning Joe is grilling a Democrat. Watch this brutal exchange as Chicago's failing mayor, Brandon Johnson, he gets cornered on crime and flat out refuses to say what everybody already knows. More cops would make the city safer.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and have success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. Would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer.
That is deflection on a loop. I mean, with just a 6% approval rating, you would think the mayor would finally find the courage to say, yeah, more cops would reduce crime. But he's too worried about his far left base. In fact, he's more afraid of activists than actual criminals. Let that sink in. Even Bill Maher has had enough and is now piling on, calling out Democrats for chasing delusions, while Trump, love him or hate him, is locking in voters who actually care about the real world.
While Democrats offer up high-minded intangibles like equity and saving the soul of America, Trump says, hey, waitress, how'd you like to pay no tax on those tips? He got the TikTok vote. He got the people for whom toilets are very important vote. He got the enough of taking our shoes off at the airport vote, the crypto bro vote, the tech bro vote, the bro vote. He got rappers and kale eaters.
Democrats' ongoing war with reality, it's not just obvious, it is finally catching up to them. The latest Wall Street Journal poll shows that a staggering 63% of voters now view the Democrat Party unfavorably. That's the worst rating in 35 years. But don't tell Minnesota Governor Tim Walz that, because he's too busy already having a public meltdown. I mean, honestly, he is one rant away from a padded room. Take a look.
It boggles my damn mind that in the midst of a military takeover of our cities and the attempt to go into others, the flaunting of the rule of law, the cruelness and the unconstitutional nature of the way they're attacking our neighbors, that the press finds the need to talk about, oh, there's a division in the Democratic Party. There's a division in my damn house and we're still married and things are good. That's life.
That wasn't a convention. That was a therapy session. And if that...
All right, those were two good ones from her today. So we got two more, you guys. So we'll go 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay, first up we have the GOAT. Ah! He gets hit in the face! Unbelievable, what a shot! Okay, we got Sleepy Joe up next and eating ice cream. Oh, and he whiffs it! He completely misses the ball! Incredible moves by Fat JD. Here comes the meme legend. Face shot again! Unbelievable! Let's go! Next, we have the first gay president. What was that? Yeah! You know what? I'll just do it myself. Uh-oh, looks like Pretty Boy is mad. Again to the dome! His brain is hanging on for dear life.
I went to UFC 250 at the White House, and afterwards, I
that was
texted
a good
couple
one.
of people that were involved in putting it all together, and I said, "This is how we should solve political battle from now on. We shouldn't do any more wars. This could bring world peace. Countries should settle things in the octagon, and that's how we should. This is how we should do presidential debates and political debates. You should just do a show of strength, right? And that's how you can settle things. Teddy Roosevelt did boxing inside of the White House. We've done kind of stuff before. Why not, right? Why does everyone have to die? Why not just do it like this? I'm not sure if I'd pick soccer, but damn, that meme's hysterical. What do you think? What sport would you pick to settle all of our differences? Let me know in the comments section. I'm going with UFC.
And the last one, the Wire report. Three minutes.
1800. Bottom line up front. Hormuz traffic slows as airstrikes continue in Iran overnight. President Trump states that the ceasefire is officially over. Wire-guided FPV drone discovered in cartel weapons cache in Mexico. Russian Africa Corps continues conflict in Mali. Beginning with international events, in the Middle East, yesterday's targeting continued throughout the night with dozens of targets being struck within Iran. Much of the targeting centered around the major port of Bushehr, with a SAM site being struck and the runway being cratered again last night. In the Strait of Hormuz this morning, the UK MTO published a notice reaffirming their assurance that the southern Omani route remains open for use. Despite this assurance and highlighting that sentence in red in their notice, most of the maritime community is no longer trusting this route at the moment due to Iranian targeting, which kicked off the war again. No vessels transited either route overnight due to the targeting, however, some ships attempted to make the crossing this morning. In the Far East this morning, China imposed an export ban on helium effective immediately. The Ministry of Commerce stated that this decision was made to allow domestic semiconductor chip manufacturing facilities to maintain their supply of the gas, which is essential for the production of computer chips. Analysts comment, most of the world's supply of helium is produced as part of the process of refining natural gas in the Middle East. Since the war began, crude oil has not been the only concern, but also other distillates and byproducts such as jet fuel and helium. China halting exports is a substantial indicator of the severity of the current war. China has also been able to get more of their ships out of the Gulf than anybody else, so if even they are hurting for helium, this is not a good sign. In Africa, the conflict between Russian mercenaries and FLA militants has continued to escalate, with fierce fighting being reported in the vicinity of Anifas over the past few days. The Russian Africa Corps base in Anifas has been routinely targeted by FLA, with most of the attacks taking the form of ground skirmishes or drone attacks. In Mexico, during a counter-narco raid in Durango yesterday, Mexican forces located a fiber-optically controlled drone platform within a weapons cache in the Dolores del Rio neighborhood. This drone was reportedly fitted with an explosive charge similar to that which has become more commonly used throughout the region for carrying out attacks between rival cartel factions. Analyst comments for this wire. In the Middle East, yesterday evening, contradictory reports circulated on social media regarding which nation actually carried out some of the strikes within Iran. Some reports claimed that the strikes in the afternoon were not conducted by the United States, but actually another nation. The most obvious culprit is Israel, but reports also claimed that the Kuwaitis also conducted attacks of their own last night as well. No matter who actually dropped the munitions, the effect is the same. The Iranians consider all attacks on their territory as originating from the same US-led coalition. What the Iranian response will be is unclear. Previously, they have been extremely forthcoming with the target list they would strike if the U.S. conducted more serious targeting within Iran. Desalination plants, energy production facilities, oil export terminals, and the aircraft at U.S. bases in the region, which are once again within Iranian missile range, are all likely targets if the Iranians so desire. Considering that President Trump announced that the ceasefire is officially off this afternoon, but that the talks will continue, the next few days will be instrumental in determining if the war will return to its full form or if the attack-peace-attack cycle will continue. This concludes The Wire for 1900 Zulu, July 10th, 2026.
My Blue Chew Gold just kicked in.
All right, everybody. Well, at least I made it through with no issues tonight. The weather was a big change. It sure did drop. The humidity's low. So everybody have a good weekend, and 6 o'clock probably. We'll do night one on a weekend, because everybody will be outside all day on Saturday. So we'll do 6 tomorrow, and probably we'll do 6 again tomorrow, Sunday night too. So we can relax all afternoon. And so everyone have a good weekend. Yep, today, Jay. And thanks, Mod. Fine, okay, Lucy, Carol, Tim. And good to see some of the new people come in chat. Thanks. And everybody, God bless everybody. Love all. Please hit like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never up. Signing off. Chico and do until tomorrow evening. Unless something happens. Yep, JJ, be careful out there. Keep an eye on those kangaroos there. We'll see you all tomorrow night, you guys.